A wild day at Donald Trump's criminal trial as we move into week 5 with Michael Cohen testifying on direct examination today. As Michael Cohen testified, according to multiple sources of ours, as well as multiple reporters in the courtroom corroborating our independent sourcing, Donald Trump continued to fall asleep, close his eyes, much to the dismay and concern of his lawyers during the powerful and compelling testimony of Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen's testimony today on direct has been described as poised, calm, confident, methodical, corroborated by all of the data. And you know that's what we care about here on the MeidasTouch Network. Show me the data. Michael Cohen's every word was corroborated by phone records, by text messages, by emails, by call logs, by the testimony of other witnesses. Michael Cohen went through how he was introduced to Donald Trump in 2007, the types of work he would do for Donald Trump, how Donald Trump was terrified about the Stormy Daniels story getting out there, how Donald Trump told Michael Cohen that the campaign wanted Cohen to just make it go away, get rid of it, how Donald Trump wanted Michael Cohen to not make the payments on time, to try to drag it out until after the 2016 election. But when Stormy Daniels, through her lawyer, Keith Davidson, who's already testified and corroborated this, said that this was going to be made public because Trump had not made the required payment, Donald Trump then told Michael Cohen to make the payment. And Michael Cohen, in addition to corroboration, was just corroborated by common sense. Why in the world would I just make a payment like this on my own? Donald Trump micromanaged everything, every single word, every decision went directly through Donald Trump, and then Cohen went through it one by one by one. Now, we're not even finished with the direct examination. As I've described it, if you're thinking about this in terms of a sporting event, we're only through the first quarter. We're probably about the beginning of the second quarter into halftime of Michael Cohen's testimony. More direct will take place on Tuesday, but then the cross-examination will commence. And so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but look, we know Michael Cohen here on this network. Of course, he's got the Mea Culpa show on this network. I co-host Political Beatdown with Michael Cohen. I have a lot of reporters right now who have asked me to go on their shows tonight. I'm not. I want to talk to you about my relationship with Michael Cohen, how I know Cohen to be a family man, someone who is an honest truth teller of the facts that occurred here, someone who is compassionate, someone who has empathy, and someone who made his mea culpa. And if you've been following the network, you don't have to take my advice about it. You've seen him on Political Beatdown. You've seen him on Mea Culpa. So all of these reports right now that Cohen did so good and he was calm, and this was not the Cohen that we heard about. I don't know. Perhaps you should look at the data, the evidence, the videos that exist versus buying into narratives. Speaking about buying into false narratives, this ridiculous narrative was pushed at this Trump event in Wildwood, New Jersey, where first all of the Trump campaign people claimed there was 80,000 to 100,000 people there in a venue the day before. The spokesperson for the city of Wildwood said it could only hold 20,000 individuals there. And it was less than half full, and people started leaving during the middle of his speech. So by my estimate and by others who actually did algorithmic reviews of the people from the overhead views that you're seeing right there, people thinking it was more along the lines of 4,500, 5,000 to 10,000, even if you say 10,000. Again, why is corporate media complicit in just spreading his propaganda, right? It wasn't the corporate media saying, oh, allegedly, or according to Trump. They just ran with the numbers and said 80 to 100,000 people there. 80 to 100,000 people, just completely and totally false. And the media ran with that instead of a big crowd size, huge crowd size, which is exactly what Trump wants them to talk about versus what Trump was actually saying. Can you focus on his words that he's up there talking about who he calls the late, great Hannibal Lecter? And he gave this speech about Hannibal Lecter. Like, what in the world? That he was his word, most of this bizarre and deranged speech, which demonstrated what cognitive decline he's going. How about just report on what is happening? Is that too much to ask? Anyway, we'll report on what's happening and what went down with none of the spin, just the facts. Also, a very strange trend is going on at these Trump events, and it's been confirmed by Snoops. And this is that people. Snoops, is it Snopes or Snoops?
I think it's not. It's
Snopes.
What is it?
Snopes.
Snoppies? That from Snoops or Snopes. That the people at the event that go to these Trump events, not a lot of them, I would say a good group, a statistically significant number are wearing diapers at the
more
event.
than one.
More than one. And that it's a thing, and they've confirmed and fact-checked that this is what's happening as they're trying to get ahead of these stories, I guess, that Donald Trump smells. It is very bizarre, very strange, but we'll break it down. Also, Melania was nowhere to be seen at Mar-a-Lago on Mother's Day. You had President Biden leaving church, wishing everybody a happy Mother's Day, posting normal happy Mother's Day messages. You had Donald Trump making QAnon posts. Melania nowhere to be found. And we'll talk about that as well. A lot to discuss. I want to wish all the Meidas mothers out there a very happy Mother's Day. Brett and I got to spend Mother's Day with our mom, Randy. It's also her birthday today.
Whoa.
And so we will be bringing her on in one of the later segments. And then she'll also be on for our Patreon. So don't worry, y'all get to meet her here if you're not members of the Patreon. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch, though, is where you can go after our show, and we'll have a longer, maybe a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation with our mom, Randy. But she'll be on in the second or third segment here. So excited for you all to meet her. I know many of you have already seen her on one of the other episodes, but for those who haven't, we're excited to have her on soon. Brett and Jordy, how are you?
Doing great. Happy Mother's Day, Meidas moms.
Yes.
Honestly, we are so incredibly thankful for all of you. We know the Meidas moms are a big part of this community. And honestly, whether you've been with us since day one in 2020, or whether you just started listening, just whether this is your first show, I want to send my thank yous for being a part of this community. It's not only about politics. I don't even find, a lot of the things we talk about political, just a community that's about decency, that's about normalcy. So thank you. I saw the video that we released 4 years ago, by the way, brothers, of us wishing a happy Mother's Day to folks in May of 2020. I don't know how this is possible, but we aged like 20 years in the span of 4 years. It's a little frightening. Michael Cohen, huge shout out to Michael Cohen today on the stand. Honestly, did an incredible job. Poised, composed, smart, had a great recall of all the facts at the matter. It was the connective tissue exactly that was needed for the prosecutors today. The perfect temperament, the perfect tone, I thought. Perfect tone, new tone, perfect tone, Michael Cohen. I thought he was great. And, I've seen all these people today, Ben, like you said, being like, I'm so surprised. I'm so shocked. I'm really not surprised by him. Like we've been, you all have seen him on Political Beatdown. You all have seen him on Mea Culpa. Like how much that this means to him. And at the same time, I had received, by the way, like so many emails over the past few days saying like, please tell Michael to stop posting about the case. He needs to stop tweeting and TikToking about the case. And I was like, what alternate universe am I living in? Where is this media narrative coming from? He has not talked about the case once since he said he wasn't going to talk about the case weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And so I don't even know where this is coming from. If you watch like Political Beatdown, you guys aren't even covering those topics. And if you watch Mea Culpa, he's been talking about a lot of other different topics that have nothing to do with Trump whatsoever, just other things in the news, things about Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republicans in Congress, things about Israel and Palestine and Gaza. Like he's talking about completely different subject matter. So I don't know where the media is getting this from. And it made its way into like the courtroom last Friday where the judge was like, okay, Michael has to stop. He should stop. I advise you to tell him. Like, he hasn't been talking about where is this narrative coming from? I really do not get that. He has people know. But anyway, he did such a good job on the stand. He absolutely crushed it. I'm excited to get into the details of all of it. First, I got to check in with Jordy. Jordy, I wish you were here. We had such a fun time celebrating Mother's Day with Mom yesterday. We went over to Ben's place and we had a couple great dinners over the weekend with her. And it's always, it's always nice to be with family, but we missed you.
That is the best. And yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't there. It sounds absolutely incredible. I'm pumped that Mom got to spend her birthday and Mother's Day with you guys. That's so amazing. Mom, happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday. Happy Mother's Day. Shout out to all the mothers out there in the Meidas Mighty community, all of the Meidas moms. Happy Mother's Day. Let's get into it, folks. Ben, what's your take on what Brett was saying there about this corporate media narrative about Cohen?
Well, I think one of the sources was the New York Post, and then owned by Rupert Murdoch, and then a lot of corporate media just basically covering it and parroting the New York Post for clicks. I think there was another ABC story out there that looked like it was, looking for clicks, but it was just inconsistent with, I think, a very measured Michael Cohen, who's been hosting Political Beatdown. Brett, to your point, there have been so many messages, so many people saying, Ben, you need to talk to Cohen about. I'm like, I don't need to talk to him. Michael Cohen's an adult. He's a close friend of mine. I don't need to talk to him about any of these topics. Like, at the end of the day, I think that Cohen's talking you've seen him on Beatdown, you've seen him on Mea Culpa, you've seen him in other interviews. I don't think there's anybody who on a non-voluntary basis has been brought into more court proceedings than Michael Cohen in terms of all the testimony before Congress. I mean, he's a subpoenaed witness. I mean, he has to show up. It's not his choice to show up. He has to show up to Congress, to the civil fraud case. Donald Trump sued Cohen. Just remember this. In all of the news that happens out there, people forget this moment. Donald Trump sued Michael Cohen for $500 million, okay, in federal court in the Southern District of Florida. What did Cohen do? Cohen said, okay, I'm fine. I'll testify. I'll speak. But why don't we set Donald Trump's deposition? So all of the things you're saying about me, Donald, the same way I've had to testify before Congress in the civil fraud case and this and that, you're making these accusations about me. Let's take your deposition. And then Donald Trump first objected to it. Then he claimed he was busy. Then he moved the dates. He delayed. Cohen did not give up. And Cohen said, okay, well, we're going to make sure we hold you to your deposition. And then after the court ordered Donald Trump, I think it was like at least 2, maybe 3 times of Trump violating court orders. The final time, or ignoring the court order, Donald Trump then dismissed the lawsuit that he filed against Michael Cohen. But what did Donald Trump get out of it? The media narrative that he wanted to raise money. So frankly, how dare Donald Trump, and his lawyers go, oh, Cohen's trying to make money. Cohen's a subpoenaed witness. Cohen has because Trump destroyed Cohen's life, this is the life that Cohen has to live. I bet it's a net negative if you go and ask Cohen and you look back on it, his interactions with Donald Trump versus where his life has gone for him and his family has been a net negative. But he's compelled to testify. Donald Trump, on the other hand, voluntarily suing Michael Cohen and then too scared to have his deposition taken. But yet corporate media isn't like Donald Trump was scared. Donald Trump's the coward. Donald Trump's when they should. But of course, we're going to do that here in the MeidasTouch.
And Ben, it also shows you, though, I'm just going to say quickly, it shows you, and I think this is also going to be, we'll show this throughout the show, how the corporate media launders these fake news stories that originate from sources like the New York Post, or even from just completely bad faith actors like random people on Twitter. Like just random, like Trump MAGA accounts. And they take that and then they report it as facts in legitimate publications. And that's where the issue is, right? Like what, and it goes back to what I say, like on so many of these shows, which is, why are we trusting the word of people who lie about everything. It'd
Mhm.
be one thing if they got the facts wrong a little one time, right? You'd be like, oh, we made a mistake, right? But they've lied to you about every single thing. So when one of these people say, oh, there were 80,000 people, there are 100,000 people, don't you want to stop for a second and be like, you know what? That sounds like BS, because the actual person at the city said the capacity of the entire space was 20K and it was nowhere near filled. So 100K, that sounds like kind of crazy. You lied about everything. Let me do some research first, and then I'll report the real info. Or you could just launder this information that came from an account that paid $8 on Twitter to have a blue check mark. Whatever.
No,
Okay.
Brett, I think to that point exactly. Like, let me defend the emailers, right? From the emails that we were getting, those are folks from the MeidasTouch community who watch our stuff that were probably concerned. And I would just say to them, right, believe your own eyes. Like, if you're watching Political Beatdown, you're really in it with the network. You're seeing day to day what Michael Cohen's actually talking about. But it shows you the power and just the ability to spread disinformation that a lot of these corporate media entities truly have. And so people get scared. Their natural instinct is to be worried when they see that report from corporate media. They're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Oh my gosh, the house is burning. But the corporate media, and what we'll get into going forward with this show, Brett, like don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. It's so
Donald Trump's done two things to work the refs and work the media effectively. File frivolous lawsuits against them, number one, right? And by filing the frivolous lawsuits, the media is so afraid to report actual stipulated facts as it relates to Donald Trump, like alleged bankruptcies, alleged fraud when he's found liable for fraud and the Trump organization is actually convicted of fraud, right? They have to soften their language when they're talking about Donald Trump. But then when Trump supplies them with numbers, right, and gives them a script because they believe that script gives them clicks, they run with it. The headlines didn't say there was reportedly 80,000 to 100,000 people at the event. It said it was declarative that there was 80,000 to 100,000 people. And then you have to read the articles and it's like, where is it? It's just like, trust me, bro. Like, that's basically what the media is running with. Donald Trump's whole thing is lying about numbers. He claims his apartment is 30,000 square feet. It's 10,000 square feet, right? He claims Mar-a-Lago is worth $2 billion. And when he then puts
there were some trials about this, some convictions about
he quite literally lies, but he's giving them a script. And the media, both because of their complicity and because of their laziness, but I think it's probably 95% complicity, 5% laziness, they run with it. So just think about, Brett, in the last 3 weeks, or then you go back 3 months, the fact checks that we've had to do on corporate media, and the corporate media wants to sit perched on their ivory tower and go, oh, well, we should never cover these. Why would we cover? I don't know. Maybe y'all should be covering that Donald Trump's talking about the late, great Hannibal Lecter at his speeches, or he's praising Alphonse Capone at the Young Republican speech, saying the late, great Alphonse, like a person who killed people. Maybe you should be focused on Donald Trump's actual words versus parroting his headlines. But just think about it. Trump said he was going to this bodega, and then he was surrounding himself with the Young Republican Club, and we exposed that. Donald Trump said that he was going to be hanging out with union workers, and there was one person wearing union worker for Trump or American worker for Trump. And then they had the right-wing media post, Black union worker supports Donald Trump. And it was like somebody who works for George Santos, or who worked for George Santos, who, by the way, was an Indian American who was, who's not a union worker and who was just basically there for the propaganda. Or when Donald Trump went to Wisconsin and he had someone show up on stage and she claimed that that her business was thriving under Donald Trump. And she's so offended that an immigrant came into her shop on government assistance and showed her a government assistance card. And now she's suffering because of these things under Biden. She was able to open up her small business for the first time based on President Biden's policies in 2023. She didn't have a business when Trump was in office. She had declared bankruptcy 3 times before that, and she was on government assistance. So you have things like that. You have Donald Trump show up at a Chick-fil-A in Atlanta and a woman goes and hugs him who works for, or who previously worked for Charlie Kirk. And then they set up this thing to see, look, a black woman supports Donald Trump because this one lady hugged him at a Chick-fil-A. First off, how racist and how offensive can you actually be? But the media runs with it. It looks like he has black support in there because he got hugged by this woman who works for Chick-fil-A.
And then the inevitable, Ben, when the polls come out and the headlines are, wow, how could voters be confused about who's responsible for ending Roe v. Wade? How could voters possibly be confused about who brought infrastructure? I don't know, because you platformed the woman who said that she started her business under Donald Trump and when she started it under Biden, and that was actually the success story. It's actually a Biden economy success story, but you're buying Donald Trump's spin, even though the company didn't exist until 2023. So what are we talking about here?
And by the way, Donald Trump didn't know how to say the word vegan. He called it vegan, and he kept on saying vegan over and over again. I mean, look, it's a small thing, but you'd put it this way. There was once a time in our politics where someone who spelled potato wrong was automatically disqualified. Donald Trump has never heard of the word vegan before and calls it vegan. And then at this Wildwood event, he starts talking about the late, great Hannibal Lecter. He previously talked about how he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. He goes and praises the January 6th insurrectionists and calls them hostages. Show me the data. That's the meme right there. Just show me the facts and show me the data. I'll show you some data right here. This was Donald Trump leaving from the criminal trial today, ranting and raving against Justice Merchan like a total maniac. Let's play this clip.
And you should go out and check it out. But we have a corrupt judge, and we have a judge who's highly conflicted, and he's keeping me from campaigning. He's an appointed New York judge. He's appointed. You know who appointed him? Democrat politicians. He's appointed. He's a corrupt judge, and he's a conflicted judge, and he ought to let us go out and campaign and get rid of this scam. Every single legal analyst, even CNN, even MSDNC, they're saying there's no case here. Thank you very much.
First off, how bizarre and weird is that? Second off, he has a lady who he pays over $100,000 to follow him around with a portable printer to hand him articles that his campaign and lawyers think that he will enjoy reading, and then he edits them and deletes the portions of the articles that he doesn't like, and he literally spends the day when he's not sleeping at trial crossing out portions of articles that a lady who he pays six figures to follow him, or he doesn't pay. Mr. and Mrs. Magadonia pay, let me be clear.
It's like when you go to like TGI Fridays and they give the kids the the crayons and you get the crosswords and the coloring. Like, it's basically what they do with Donald Trump in court. By the way, those are a lot of fun. I'm not looking down on those whatsoever. I still ask for them to this day. I love those. They're the best. But they give Donald Trump like these kind of adult coloring books, basically, where he goes there with a highlighter and just starts highlighting things he likes, crossing out things he doesn't like, hands it off to his people. They then send Truth Social posts based around his highlights and the whole thing's so freaking weird.
Donald Trump showed up in court as well with MAGA Republican senators. That's like the new thing that he did last week. He came with the MAGA Republican senator from Florida, Rick Scott. Now he comes with MAGA Republican senators J.D. Vance and Tommy Tuberville, Vance from Ohio, Tuberville from Alabama. And then like J.D. Vance posts the following. He goes, I saw a media report a few days ago that Trump looked like he was falling asleep or bored or something. The obvious narrative they're trying to sell is, yeah, Biden is mentally unfit, but this other guy is bad too. It's an absurd narrative. I'm 39 years old. I've been here for 26 minutes and I'm about to fall asleep. That's not actually a normal experience, JD Vance. Like, you're in trial. This is something that American citizens have to go through from time to time, and people show up and they stay awake, and you have his own former fixer or his own former executive testifying today about really important facts. So it's actually bizarre that Donald Trump would be falling asleep. And as I mentioned at the outset, multiple people in the courtroom say that he's falling asleep. He's slouched over, his head's on his right shoulder. I mean, over and over again, you're getting that. But as we talk about in a little bit with this very weird trend that's going on at these Trump events, where these Trump supporters are wearing diapers at the events, they're trying to like cover for him and say, well, if you're saying he wears a diaper, like we wear diapers too. And JD Vance is like, well, if you're saying he falls asleep, well, I fall asleep too. And the broader point here is that this is what the Republican Party has become. Mm-hmm. And Brett, to your point at the outset of this show, this is madness. This isn't like, oh, political Democrats, Republicans, here's your policy, here's our policy, one. This is just pure madness. It's weird, it's dangerous, it's madness, and it ain't normal, and it's just very problematic. And I'm not trying, like, I'm not trying to like mock the people, you know, even in this photo, like wearing diapers, or the fact that, you know, they have these pee funnels that they bring to the events, and they pee on the floor during the event. Because look, if you gotta go, you gotta go. And people have told me, look, I've used a pee funnel before when there's been a festival or something, and it's been, you know, and it's been helpful. So look, I'm not trying to be like, oh, pee funnels and diapers. I'm just simply, as I said, I'm giving you a data point that at these Trump events, while he has the new version of the national anthem sung by January 6th insurrectionists, they are singing the new version of the national anthem. Trump's calling them hostages to a crowd of people, some of whom are wearing diapers and peeing through pee funnels on the floor. And that's what's happening at Republican events. And I'm like, that's something that is, I think, fairly new to our politics. And you may go, I like this, which I'd be like, I'm not really sure why. Or you may go, what the heck? But I want to present you with, here's what's happening. Here's Snoops or Snopes saying true. You know, that this is something that's going down. You can judge it for yourself. I want to talk more about Michael Cohen's testimony. I want to talk more about why I think it was so significant. I want to talk about Wildwood, but I got to take our first quick break of the show. But I want to remind everybody, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We're going to be bringing our mom on for her birthday. You can meet her there. Don't worry, you'll still see her in the show, but the longer version of our interview with our mom on her birthday will be at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Let's take our first quick break.
Like many of us, you might think identity theft will never happen to you. But consider this. There's a new identity theft victim every 3 seconds in the US. That's over 15 million people by the end of this year. That's equal to the populations of New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago combined. Even worse, identity theft victims often don't even know they're victims. That's why LifeLock Identity Theft Protection alerts you to identity threats, even the ones that don't show up on your credit report, like data breaches, fraudulent bank transactions, loan and credit card applications, and crimes committed in your name. If your identity is stolen, your own dedicated LifeLock US-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. Look, I've recently signed up to LifeLock, and I can't even begin to explain how much better I feel knowing that there's a dedicated specialist looking out for me. We live in a crazy world, and protecting your identity needs to be at the top of your to-do list. LifeLock protects you in ways that you simply can't on your own. Save up to 25% your first year at LifeLock.com/Meidas. That's LifeLock.com/Meidas to save up to 25%. Identity theft protection starts here. As you know, I'm a dad, and as the days go on, I'm learning that it's incredibly important what we give our children. Now, typically, children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise. They're filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy junk growing kids should frankly never eat. That's why Hiya was created, the pediatrician-approved superpowered chewable vitamin. Now, while most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk. Yet it tastes great and it's perfect for picky eaters. Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment that our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Haya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you could imagine. Now, Haya is designed for kids of all ages and sent straight to your door so parents have one less thing to worry about. Like I said, I'm a dad and I want to make sure that I give my child the best possible vitamins, and that's why I'm so happy that I've come across Haya Health. The ingredients are amazing and I don't have to worry about sugar or gummy junk because Haya Health is made without that stuff and it's still able to taste great. Now, we've worked out a special deal with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. Now, to claim this deal, you have to go to hayahealth.com/Meidas. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hayahealth.com/Meidas and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Let's go. Shout out to our pro-democracy sponsors, Haya Health right here. Links in the description of the episode. LifeLock, guys. LifeLock. Ben, you know how important LifeLock is. I know you've had experience with it. So, guys, click those links. We work really hard to find you great sponsors. They have great deals for y'all in the description of YouTube and audio. I'll take you right there. Let them know we sent you.
I love Haya. I highly recommend it. And by the way, great ad read. And as I've told the story about LifeLock before as well, which is when I would do class actions and we would reach settlements on privacy cases with corporations, I would insist as a part of the settlement that they buy LifeLock for the people who had experienced data breaches. It was that trusted for me back then. And that's why I'm so excited also that they are a sponsor of this show. Look, trust matters when it comes to your privacy, and trust matters in the courtroom, and a jury is there watching and seeing, do they trust this witness? First off, what a great sketch right there. I really want to blow up this sketch and put it.
That's like Cohen looks great. We should buy this for Cohen.
I absolutely want to do something with that sketch. And I mean, I want to buy it for me, but okay, fine, whatever, Brett. But I think that's, but here's the thing. Donald Trump's entire defense is not based on a technical mistake about the characterization of a hush money payment that he admits to making. That could be a defense. I want to be objective here, and don't get upset that Ben, you're giving him ideas. Too late for that, okay? In Donald Trump's opening and throughout the various cross-examinations of Stormy Daniels and others, Donald Trump's defense has been none of this has happened. This is all made up. Stormy's lying, Pecker's lying, Keith Davidson's lying, the phone records are false to the extent it shows there's phone calls between Michael Cohen and Donald Trump. Those were butt dials or potential pocket dials. The C-SPAN archivist doesn't have the full footage. Don't believe the footage that you're watching. That's the defense, that none of this has happened. And by the way, that may work on right-wing propaganda media. That's why you have Donald Trump's people out there pushing all of that stuff, because they're trying to win in the court public opinion. But in the court of seeing data, you know, there are no hearsay preclusions on Fox, right? There is no relevance standard for Fox. There is no probative requirement for Fox or right-wing media. They quite literally function the same way propaganda networks function in North Korea and Libya under Gaddafi, and Vladimir Putin's Russia. I mean, Saddam Hussein's Iraq. That's how Fox functions. It's sad to see the disinformation, because I get it. If you're feeding people a diet of lies all the time, and then a result happens that's incongruous with the lies, then you so mistrust in the system, right? Then it must be stolen. There must be something nefarious. There must be a cabal. There must be a deep state. Or is the more logical explanation that those Fox hosts who quite literally are laughing at their viewers in text messages about how dumb they perceive their viewers to be, and that they're mocking them and laughing at them in text messages, saying that they're feeding them the lies so that they can make money and send their kids to fancy clubs and private schools and things. Maybe that's their motive and that's their intent, to lie. It's why it's important here on this network that we go to the source, that we find multiple sources to corroborate what's going on, to hear from people like, look, Karen Fried Magnifilo, yes, she worked for the district attorney's office for 30 years and was the number 2. But she's also now a criminal defense lawyer, and she looks at things through the perspective of, is this good for the defense? What kind of defense would you put on? And all we can say is that based on the totality of everybody we've spoken to, our own sources, all of the reporting, Michael Cohen diligently went through his relationship with Donald Trump. Meeting Trump in 2007, Don Jr. made the introduction. Cohen was tasked with negotiating something about a bankruptcy. Donald Trump didn't fully pay the bill. Donald Trump said, I like what you do, though. I want to bring you on full time. Trump paid Cohen $525,000 or so a year. Cohen worked there from 2007 to 2017. Cohen talked about the specific things that he would negotiate for Trump, how Trump wouldn't like to pay invoices, how Trump would micromanage everything. Cohen went through his text messages. Cohen went through his emails. Cohen discussed how Donald Trump told him that the reason that Trump didn't use an email is because you can leave a paper trail of the crimes that you commit, and that's how prosecutors get people. Then it was the testimony started focusing on the initial hush money payments to Karen McDougal, the involvement of AMI and David Pecker, all backed with very meticulous text messages and emails and phone logs. Every time Cohen would say something, the district attorney would bring in, okay, so was here the call? Was here the text? Was this the time? Is this what happened? Even one of the more interesting parts, you remember when Cohen was recording Donald Trump and then the phone call kind of gets cut off at the end. And there was a lot of suggestion that, oh, is it tampered with? Is it manipulated? Why would Cohen cut it off then? Cohen's like, no, I got a phone call then. And that cut it off, the recording. And then they go, okay, is this the phone call? Showing the exact timestamp where Cohen got the phone call. That's why the recording stopped at that moment. Text messages from Melania to Cohen saying, call Donald Trump. When you look at all of this, you see that Cohen was not some minor actor in Trump's world. He was a major, major player who Trump relied on. We had heard the tapes of Donald Trump praising Cohen, the tweets of Donald Trump praising Cohen when Cohen was doing Donald Trump's bidding. Cohen went through each and every message. Then, then the Stormy Daniels situation, how when that story was going to break, how Donald Trump said after the Access Hollywood tapes, this is a disaster. Guys will think it's cool that I did this, but women are going to hate me, and this is a big problem. Cohen told Cohen to enter into the settlement agreement. Then Trump ordered Cohen, delay this thing, don't pay. We see the corroboration of Cohen avoiding it, blaming holidays as the reason that he wasn't paying. Finally, Stormy Daniels, through her lawyer, Keith Davidson, said, deal's off. We're done. We're going public with this. Then Cohen reached out to Trump. We see the corroboration of when Cohen claims he reached out to Trump. There's a call. There's conversations with Trump's team, communications with Bannon, communications with Trump, communications with Hope Hicks. And then Cohen says, they told me, look, make the payment. We'll deal with it. Just go and make the payment. Keep them satisfied and get this done. And then Cohen said, so that's what I did. Why would I make this payment on my own? Trump micromanages everything and would never allow me to do any of this on my own. But before he got there, he established with all the corroborating evidence, all the protocols that you would have to get through to get Donald Trump's authorization. So Cohen was, frankly, a smaller missing link than many had suspected. But if you were following our coverage, this is what we thought was going to happen. But Cohen clearly filled that missing link. And then you had everybody, all the reporters, again, when their BS narrative is rebutted by Cohen's in-person testimony. Oh my gosh, he did so great. How did his tone is this, is that? It's like, no, this is just who he is. This is the Cohen. This is mea culpa Cohen. And all you had to watch Political Beatdown or Mea Culpa to know that. So that's pretty much what happened in court. But I want to be clear about this before tossing it to you, Brett. Jordy, as I mentioned, this is quarter 1.5. Maybe we're in the second quarter. We're not even past halftime. Okay. Things could change. If the defense scores points on cross-exam, we will let you know. We will deliver you the facts, the cold, hard facts. But this is where we're at right now, Brett.
Yeah, and where we're at right now is we saw today Donald Trump, we saw Michael Cohen directly implicate Donald Trump while he was on the stand. And I really love how the prosecution has built this case like brick by brick along the way, getting all that connective tissue there even before Michael Cohen took the stand. I felt like every single witness they brought up, whether it was the more kind of exciting witnesses that got a lot of media attention, like a Stormy Daniels, or whether it was just kind of basic accountants and things like that, they built the case. They had all the numbers. They gave all the documents. They showed all that to the jury well in advance of Michael Cohen taking a seat on that witness stand. So when Michael Cohen took the seat on the witness stand, they had heard almost everything that happened leading up to that point already. So then Michael Cohen takes the witness stand. And the thing that I love how they did the corroboration too, Ben, is how they went back and forth, basically like, okay, Michael Cohen, you tell us this. Immediately after, okay, here's the evidence that proves that he's telling the truth here. Michael Cohen, here's a question. Michael Cohen makes a claim. Boom, document proof in documents of what Michael Cohen just said. So it was indisputable. Everything that he was saying was the truth. And the things that he was saying directly connected Donald Trump to this entire election interference scheme, which was the importance of his testimony there. Once again, I think Michael Cohen did a fantastic job, and we're going to be covering it every step of the way here and see how it goes. But I think all those worries and all those kind of sirens that the kind of media was sounding in advance of saying like, oh, but are they going to be able to trust him? How could they trust Michael Cohen when he went to jail for lying for Donald Trump? It's like, well, because he's telling the truth and it's backed up by evidence. It's corroborated. It's like, and we saw it before, right? When Judge Engoron had Michael Cohen in front of him, Judge Engoron literally said that he found Michael Cohen to be an incredibly credible witness. So I don't understand where these sorts of phony narratives come from, but Cohen did great. And I'm sure that the defense, when they get started on cross, I'm sure they're going to be pretty tough on Cohen. I'm sure they're going to throw everything they got in him, right? Because they know that a lot rides on this. And so we'll see what happens then, but that's where the case is as of now.
I was just so genuinely confused that I even texted Ben. I'm like, watching corporate media, and it's not something that we do a lot here, but it's just, I might as well throw it on once in a while as like background noise. And just how like befuddled they were that Cohen didn't go up on stand and start like throwing a fit and like cursing and being like an utter lunatic. Like they were genuinely that was the expectation though that they painted. That's the narrative that they created as corporate media, and then they bought into themselves and were confused why he wasn't acting like that on a trial today. And it's just so confusing. And Ben, when I texted you, I'm like, Ben, why are they thinking that Cohen's going to be a lunatic here? Like, I'm just so confused. What's your take on this? And Ben, to your point exactly, it's like, yeah, I think it's that 5% that you mentioned earlier of just like laziness, like that they have not been tuned into mea culpa, that they haven't been tuned into political beatdown, and that they just went off this narrative that frankly they created. It was almost like that red wave narrative back in 2022 when all of a sudden it wasn't that coming out of the midterms. And then they were so confused. They're like, how could this be possible? Well, it's because you guys are just buying your own stuff and you're not looking at the data, Ben.
One of the things I noticed when I used to practice law more regularly was that what the media cared about was the big number. Is this $1 billion lawsuit, a $50 million lawsuit? And the bigger the number, the more they were excited about reporting on it, which I thought was such a problematic concept. And frankly, was one of the points that made me a little bit disenchanted by everything, that's what their focus was. What Trump realizes and what his campaign is trying to do is to set up a paradigm of strong man versus weak man and not get into any policy. So strong man, big crowds. Strong man, you're fired. Strong man, Donald Trump's going to the bodega. People are hugging him. And you see the clips and the videos that look like when Saddam Hussein would walk around Baghdad and throw people bread. That's the kind of, and what's shocking is that our media's become complicit in allowing that to happen. And then they want to portray Biden as weak. They don't want to talk about the issues. They want a strong man, weak man paradigm. So when you think about where are these numbers coming from, 80,000, 100,000, remember, it's the strong man, weak man paradigm because they actually have nothing to talk about. Donald Trump was one of the worst presidents, if not the worst president. Let me be clear. Trump was the worst president in the history of the United States of America. Every single metric, he was the worst. He doesn't speak in complete sentences. He slurs most of his words. He has speeches where he talks about Al Capone and the late, great Hannibal Lecter. He talks about getting eaten by sharks. He doesn't even, and when he does talk about things, he talks about being proud that he took away women's reproductive rights. So the whole sleight of hand by Trump to play the media like a fiddle. Remember, strong man, weak man paradigm, 80,000, 100,000, 150,000, a million. Just keep on saying that, and the media will be complicit in it. Look, go to Wildwood, New Jersey this past weekend. Why did he choose Wildwood? By the way, that's where I went to my senior prom was in Wildwood, so I know the area. It's actually the small area of New Jersey which swung 16 points in favor of President Biden in 2020. It's the one small area in a county that's red in New Jersey. There are a few. Wildwood is a city in one such county. Wildwood's mayor, big shocker, is somebody who was indicted for like healthcare fraud. Someone named Mayor Ernie Triano Jr., quite literally somebody who's been indicted for health insurance fraud, under indictment right now. Surprise, surprise, big MAGA supporter. The same way the person Donald Trump brought on stage, the old football player Lawrence Taylor, who Trump brought on stage, is a registered sex offender as well. And Trump brought him on stage. Just think about that. Donald Trump brought on an offender on the list up, and then all of MAGA Republicans praise that as showing black support for MAGA because Lawrence Taylor, who's a registered sex offender, went on stage. I mean, just reflect on that for a moment. So where are these numbers from the officials coming from? Well, first it comes from Trump's campaign because they all start saying 80,000 to 100,000, 80,000 to 100,000. The prior statement from the city before Trump's people said that was that at max it holds 20,000. We have the overhead footage that shows that it was from the overhead footage, maybe half full. So maybe 10,000 max. But those who do an analysis, you see how the sections are kind of smaller around the stage right there. When you do an algorithmic analysis, it looks more like it's 5,000. But even for a second, except for the sake of argument, that it's 10,000. Well, then all of a sudden, the MAGA mayor staff starts saying, oh, well, it's 80,000 to 100,000. And then the media runs with that. But the media will run with that and go with all these headlines, 100,000, not allegedly. Look at these headlines. They say 100,000 at the rally. 100,000 people pack Wildwood Beach with a close-up shot where you can't even see that that's not even close. And then a Wildwood rally ushers an economic boom to the boardwalk. What does that even mean? How are you even able to assess that? If you actually read the article, they go to one vendor on the street who goes, oh, this is going to help me sell more T-shirts and sweatpants of Wildwood. And they use that for a headline. So you must ask yourself, what the heck is wrong with these media? I expected of right-wing propaganda media. Fox is Newsmax is going to Newsmax it. Right Side Broadcasting. But these local things, these local papers, these local websites, the ABCs, the Fox, and all of them, which, by the way, are still run by, large media conglomerates with agendas, obviously. They go and run with these things which are just not true. I mean, look, take a look at this. This is from the event. This is the crowd walking out while Donald Trump is speaking. Let me just show you, just so you can see it for yourself. This was available to the media. They could see this. Some of the media published this. Here, let me show you this. Play it.
A tender-hearted woman's poor half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she sighed.
Okay, and those are the media headlines. And he's telling the snake story, like just reading his same speeches from 2016. Here's Trump still speaking while the crowd left. Let me show you this clip. Play it.
Frank Sinatra, and so many more. New Jersey is where General George Washington led the army to victory at Trenton and Princeton. And this is where generations of New Jersey patriots helped build this country into the single greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, it's lost its willpower, and it's lost its strength. We are a nation that has quite simply lost its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue.
All he does too is just trash the country, and it's all he's been doing.
And for the
the
listeners,
past-
he's speaking to essentially like an empty beach at that point. Like the whole thing is cleared out. He's just like it's there's a very eerie like quality to that video of him speaking and there being like nobody there. It's completely strange.
Well, here's the thing. As I mentioned, strong man, weak man paradigm is their whole play, because they have nothing to actually talk about. And he's reading a weird poem about the snake. What the snake? I mean, okay, like just like setting aside that it's xenophobic, it's also like super corny at this point. You're reading poems about snakes and comparing it to immigrants coming in. Like what? Like maybe talk. Like, what are you gonna do? Like what's your plan? What's your policy? But then the media runs with strong man, weak man power. It's part of the campaign plan for them to run with it. Here's what Donald Trump was talking about on the few times he was actually able to form sentences. And I'm not just saying, no, he quite literally was struggling to form actual sentences. But when he was able to, he said things like this. Let's play this clip.
Silence of the Lambs. Has anyone ever seen The Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner as this poor doctor walked by. I'm about to have a friend for dinner, but Hannibal Lecter. Congratulations, the late, great Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, I mean, how strange can Brett? I want you to talk about that. I want to talk about more about the speech. I want to talk a little bit about the people who show up at his rallies wearing diapers, because I think it's like, again, I spoke about it before, but like, again, it's worth noting as a data point. Let's talk about Mother's Day and Melania and being nowhere to be found. Let's talk about that and more, but let's take our last quick break of the show.
Have you heard that the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits, led by the sponsor of this video, Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device. Flavored air isn't like vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint and orange vanilla. With flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, vapor, or combustion. Fume draws flavor to your mouth. Fume fills the void ditching a bad habit can leave. You still have something to reach for. Fume is not a vape. There's no vapor and you could use it anywhere. There's no nicotine. It's not addictive. The non-toxic flavors are a guilt-free alternative. Fume doesn't use any batteries, so you'll never need to charge it. The design is super sleek. It looks awesome and you can truly feel the weighted high-quality design. One of the things about Fume is that it's made to fidget with, and it calms anxiety with magnets, snaps, and clicks. Fume continuously invests in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products. Fume is also backed by doctors in the United States. My favorite Fume flavor is crisp mint. It is honestly delicious, and I couldn't recommend this more for anyone trying to quit their bad habit. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code MEIDAS, M-E-I-D-A-S, to get a free gift with your journey pack. So head to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com. Tryfume.com. Use code MEIDAS or scan the QR code on screen to get a free gift with your order today. Most clothes are uncomfortable or too tight or never actually the size you really are, not to mention the annoyance of trying to put a good outfit together. Everyone wants to dress their best and look good at all times because, frankly, it's a confidence booster. So here's the deal. Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man, and here's why. Rhone helps you get ready for any occasion with the commuter collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Rhone commuter collection. Rhone's comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. It's time to feel confident again without the hassle. With Rhone's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the products. It's that easy. And with Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. I absolutely love Rhone. It's comfortable yet professional and has truly become my favorite clothing. We're on the move a lot, whether it's jumping from meeting to meeting or catching a flight or doing a hot take, whatever. Rhone commuter collection has never let me down. The versatility and overall comfort of the collection is undefeated. Even after I wear it all day, I still feel super fresh because of that Gold Fusion anti-odor technology. The commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/Meidas and use that promo code Meidas to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/MEIDAS and use that code Meidas. It's time to find your corner office comfort.
Let's go. Shout out to Fume. I like that we have now a QR code. Definitely scan that. When you go back and scan that code and use
classic QR code.
Yeah, use the codes. Shout out Rhone. Rhone's been a sponsor for a while. Fume's been a sponsor for a while. Trust me, we put great trust in them. They're fantastic. You could definitely enjoy those products. Use our links, audio description and YouTube description. Brett, before you go on to talk about this Hannibal Lecter, I think there's probably an Al Capone moment again that we're going to get to or something from this rally. I just wanted to mention this, Ben, to your point about the big numbers that corporate media has been looking for. And look, I hate feeling like I'm spending a lot of time complaining about corporate media here, but quite frankly, they keep falling into the same traps, and they're not even traps anymore because they continue just to do it more and more in a worse and more honestly complicit way. So a few weeks back when Trump held that fundraiser, for example, all of the big headlines taken away from that. Once again, going off the messages from his staffers or going against the word of Trump himself. Trump says he raised $50 million in the biggest fundraiser yet. Now, this was just days after President Biden had held his fundraiser, where the numbers were super transparent and in your face, and they actually had to be reported by a certain period per campaign finance laws. Now, the numbers that Trump put out just so conveniently fell after the date of when he had to report and be super transparent about his numbers. But did corporate media care? No, they ran with the headline, Ben, because to your point exactly, they like the big flashy number. So now what do? They just cut out Trump says or staffer says as the lead into their headline because they're vying for all the same clicks. Ooh, how can I get people to read my story? Okay, I'll just lean into it. Nearly 100,000 people showed up to this beach to watch Donald Trump speak. Are you kidding me, corporate media? What are you doing?
All we're asking is don't wittingly or unwittingly become a mouthpiece for fascism. Mm-hmm. Like we all know the techniques that have been done by authoritarians for decades and decades and decades, for hundreds of years. These have been well studied. There are a lot of experts out there who you could consult on this very thing. So take a second, get the facts right. And there has been some incredible reporting. Like, I don't want to knock just, all media in general, because there has been some amazing reporting out there. Like Washington Post had that incredible expose about Donald Trump's meeting with those billionaires they were doing this quid pro quo, give me $1 billion and I will basically remove all the regulations that are currently on big oil. Like that, it was incredible reporting. I wish that could be a model for everybody out there, but don't take Donald Trump's word for anything. Because Donald Trump is out there. Donald Trump is first, let's play the Hannibal Lecter clip once more, because just every word about this is so bizarre. And you would think that this would be like a top headline on every channel, right? You would think this would be top headlines on the newspapers. Like, what the heck did this guy say? Listen to Donald Trump once more praise the fictional serial killer cannibal, Hannibal Lecter.
Silence of the Lamb. Has anyone ever seen a Silence of the Lamb? The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner as this poor doctor walked by. I'm about to have a friend for dinner, but Hannibal Lecter, congratulations, the late, great Hannibal Lecter.
And you could try to parse that. You could try to make sense of it. It doesn't make any sense. You could be like, oh, maybe he's talking about Anthony Hopkins. No, Anthony Hopkins is alive. He's doing all right. Hannibal, I don't think Hannibal Lecter has ever died in any of the movies. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. And when you see these things written out, it also makes it even like more disturbing somehow. That's why I love our new thing here at the MeidasTouch Network, where we just transcribe these moments from the Trump speeches for people to read. Silence of the Lamb. Has anyone ever seen The Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. As this poor doctor walked by, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. But Hannibal Lecter, congratulations. The late, great Hannibal Lecter.
That's
Wow.
I do love that new thing that we're doing where we're transcribing it out and putting it on our Instagram.
Never fight
at MeidasTouch.
Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight up.
Here's the thing. I actually think that he was confusing that story with his praise of Al Capone, the mafia leader who killed many people. So one of the things that Trump goes around in his speeches is he praises he calls him the late, great Alphonse Capone. So I actually think Trump got Hannibal Lecter confused with Al Capone as part of his speech. And that's how you know I watch too many of these things here. Just show the montage, just so people know that.
But he was saying lines from the Hannibal movie. So
make it make sense. You can't make sense of it. You can't make sense of it. We do have him
talking about Al Capone. Play this.
And I always say Al Capone, the greatest of them all, gangster, Scarface. I often say Al Capone, he was one of the greatest of all time, if you like criminals. He was a mob boss, the likes of which Scarface, they call him. I don't know, I hear different stories. Did anybody ever hear of the great Alphonse Capone? Al Capone, great head of the mafia, right? Scarface. He got a scar that went from here to here, and he didn't mind at all. But he was a rough guy. Now, I heard he was indicted once. A couple of people told me a few times more. But I was indicted 4 times, and Al Capone, Alphonse. You know, if he had dinner with you and if he didn't like the way you smiled at him at dinner, he would kill you. You'd be dead. By the time you walked out of the nice restaurant, you would be dead. He got indicted once. I got indicted 4 times. Over bullshit, I got indicted.
And before I became well known as somebody that was indicted more than Alphonse Capone, the legendary Alphonse Capone. You know, Al Capone, if he took somebody to dinner and he didn't like them, he'd kill them. If somebody looked at him the wrong way, he would kill them. He once had a date, very lovely young lady, and the man next to him tried to pick her up. Guess what happened to him? It wasn't good. Scarface, they call him. It was not good to go after Alphonse Capone's girlfriend. I'll teach that to these guys. Chris, you don't want to do that, but it was not a good situation. He got indicted less than I did, Alphonse.
By the way, I could show you probably 20 more clips like that. Obviously, we don't need a whole show of Donald Trump praising Al Capone, but the point is...
I think a minute and a half of it is enough evidence.
It's so weird. He goated out the greatest of all time, Alphonse Capone. I mean, it's just weird behavior. And for a second, like if President Biden said this about Hannibal Lecter, if he said it about Al Capone, if he said it about any mafia leader, if he said vegan instead of vegan when reading off a teleprompter, I mean, it would be front page story from now until the election every day. But this guy gets to just go unchecked by corporate media because, you know, the polls say this, these faulty polls dictate that. Unbelievable.
I'm gonna give more on that in a moment, Jordy. So stick tight for my analysis using the strong man, weak man paradigm.
By the way, did you see tonight, even Fox like backtracked on the number at the New Jersey rally? Even Jesse Waters, who's like one of the biggest propagandists of them all, was like, our producer was there. He said it wasn't anywhere near 100K. He said maybe 30K, which is also a complete fabrication. But when Fox is even backtracking themselves, you know that like it makes it almost like 100 times more offensive that like ABC News and those other networks were hyping up this 100K number.
Well, and the rest of the speech was a lot of slurring his words. I mean, like here, just show a small portion of it, but like throughout the speech, slurring. Here, play this clip.
All done by Biden, carried out by Ray. Right.
And then here, just this next one where he talks about he confuses former President Jimmy Carter's name with Jimmy Connors. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about here? Play this clip.
Jimmy Connors is good. He's also happy. Jimmy is a very happy man, both of them, because you know what? They want him out. Jimmy Carter had a bad reputation. Right now, he is considered a totally brilliant president by comparison.
I mean, the whole thing is very bizarre. But Jordy, going back to your point, because Donald Trump doesn't talk about, I'll show you one more. I got to show you one more part of the clip. This is what. So when Donald Trump does try, like immigration's supposed to be like their thing, right? Immigration, even though they killed the bipartisan border deal that was negotiated by the most conservative senator on immigration, James Lankford. Trump said, "Don't give Biden any wins. Vote against immigration." But when they do talk about immigration, what Trump doesn't know the issue. So he says things like, you know, I came up with the name Caravan. You know what else I came up with the name? Pocahontas. Here, play this clip.
The people they're going through your country in caravans. I think it was the name I developed. I developed a lot of names. You notice that? People's names, Pocahontas, lots of different names.
So Jordy and Brett and Midas Mighty, because he actually can't articulate anything, yet alone any issue. And when he does, he will be just either saying the most deranged things about like Hannibal Lecter or getting eaten by sharks or whatever. Their whole strategy, it just depends on strong man, weak man paradigm. And big crowds, big polls, big money. Big crowds, big polls, big money. And just lie about it over and over again. They want nothing more than to talk about polls. So if they can start with the poll from 6 months ago, right, or 9 months ago, and just talk about polls, they want to use that to substitute for any issues. Why do you care about the issues? The polls show this. The polls show that. And where the media gets complicit is if you actually look at aggregates of the polls, I think President Biden's ahead when you look at the aggregate of good polling. Then when you look at a bad poll, like the New York Times Siena poll, and you go to their section of likely voters, these are what they consider to be likely voters. 20% of the crosstab of likely voters, 10% are newly registered voters who haven't voted before, and another 20% or another 10% never voted in like the 2020 or 2022 midterms. So about 20% of their likely voter crosstab are people who have not voted. Like, and then when you look at the demographic shifts, you would have to believe that in the past 2 years, everything's changed. The suburbs have changed. Black voters have changed. Hispanic voters have changed.
And that every special election has been an anomaly.
Every election has been anomalous. Every time we've seen any actual data, it's all been what. But the bigger, broader problem here is the fixation on the polls. Because, Jordy, to your point, that's his whole strategy. And I'm not saying there's not a place for polling. I'm not trying to whine if there's a bad poll or whatever. What I'm simply saying, Brett, to your point, don't be complicit in fascism. Media, report on the actual issues, report on the substance, say what Donald Trump is actually saying, and let people make decisions based on educated data. That's what you should be doing. And so when you have people in Trump's orbit posting photos and saying that this was what Wildwood looked like here's Roger Stone, he's super close with Donald Trump, and it's Rio de Janeiro, Brazil from December 31st, 1994, and not Wildwood. I mean, call that out. I know the media.
I remember though, Ben, you don't remember the beautiful mountains of New Jersey on the New Jersey coast. I mean, everyone knows about New Jersey's mountainous
beautiful
region.
Mountains right there of Jersey. And just how about the fact that Donald Trump brought up a registered sex offender during the speech? Like what?
You think that gets someplace? Actually,
like that, and then all of right-wing media's praising this to show that there's Black people who support Donald Trump. And it's you're just doing another version of the Chick-fil-A thing. And it's incredibly disturbing. And the media should exercise a modicum of dignity and of respect. But
QAnon found your guy, QAnon. We found it. It's at the Donald Trump rallies, and the Trump people also they kept spreading all these fake photos. Anytime we posted anything showing the crowd from the actual reporters on the ground, showing the crowd just dispersing and there being no people there by the end of the speech, or even by the middle half of the speech, we saw the Trump people push back with all these posts. And it took less than 5 seconds for me to take a screenshot of the post, run it through a Google image search, and find the origin of the picture. And so that was a bit of a hobby of mine yesterday as these were coming in. And so we got another one here. This is not that one. We got another one. Where is it?
Germany.
Where is it? Yeah, I can't find it at the moment, but it was from Germany, and it was a Trumper saying that, look at all these people, this is the biggest event ever, and it showed this packed crowd going back. It ended up being from a rock festival in Germany from 2014. The metal band Avenged Sevenfold was performing, and it even still had the watermark in the corner that said Rock Am Festival or whatever the festival. It was still on the picture. You couldn't even crop out that it was in the picture. And so that's what the Trumpers do, though. They spread fake photos. They act as if it's real. And usually by the time it gets corrected, that message has already spread far and wide, sometimes even gets reported by legitimate outlets. And so that's why it's so important, I think, quickly to push back and go, actually, that's a Rod Stewart concert. Actually, that's an Avenged Sevenfold concert from Germany. This is nothing. There are no mountains in New Jersey.
So yesterday was Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of the Meidas mothers out there, really the core of the MeidasTouch network. None of this is possible without you. We're so grateful for all the Meidas mothers out there. But of course, we're grateful for all of our supporters out there as well. This is Donald Trump walking into Mar-a-Lago on the Mother's Day lunch with no Melania. I'll show you this clip. And here's video of Mar-a-Lago guests cheering for Trump because he makes them do that at Mar-a-Lago. So weird. On Mother's Day, again, no sign of Melania. But we're here to cheer Meidas mother, Randy Mycelis, who's here.
Where is she? Is she coming?
She's coming here.
Pull her in. There she is. Hey, Mom. Happy birthday. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy birthday. Happy Mother's Day.
Wow,
Thank you so much. I love having all of you here for Mother's Day, my birthday. Thank you.
It was great spending time.
And thank you for my present. Can I show it?
Do you have the jacket? Do you have it? Show it. Show it. Show it. So we gave our mom the official Meidas mom shirt.
Show the back.
Yeah, show the back. Show the back.
Oh yeah.
Move a little to the left. You don't have to bend down exactly like that. Other way.
Keep going.
There it goes.
There it goes.
You're in like a squat stance.
Yeah, like a squat stance.
You don't have to squat. It's a great jacket.
Great
It's a really great jacket. And that's an original. That's a limited edition. That's one of one. No other one like it exists.
But can we make this jacket for everybody, all the moms out there?
It's a lot of pressure, but we'll see what the people in a lot of pressure. We'll see what the people in the chat say. Let's just turn around one more time. Let's see the jacket. Midas mom with the heart.
Looks great.
Look at that. Look at that.
Nice,
I mean, it looks great. It says on top official Midas mom, and then it says truth is golden underneath.
Well, it's also our mom's birthday. So happy birthday, mom. It's her birthday. It's Mother's Day. She's here for my wedding in a few days. There's
so many things going on.
My birthday at the end of this week, but
quite the week, huh?
After this live,
it's not about you, Ben. It's about mom. It's mom's birthday. I was going to say after this night. I was about to say after this night, we're going to have a great celebration for mom. You got two of the Mycelis brothers here in person, and Jordy's here.
Jordy, we miss you.
We miss you, Jordy. So on the after show, we're gonna have some more Q&As with our mom. So you want to join patreon.com/
MeidasTouch.
Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We'll do some Q&As with our mom. We're excited for that. And then we'll leave the show, but I want to show you this clip of President Biden leaving church on Mother's Day. And this is what President Biden said to the media when they asked him, what are you up to? And this is what he said that he was doing in church. Play this clip.
How did you celebrate Mother's Day, Mr. President? Praise for you all. Need help. Happy Mother's Day.
And President Biden said to the media, they said, what are you doing today? He goes, what are you doing there? He goes, I prayed for you all, referring to the media. I prayed for you all. You need help. And then he said, those of you who are mothers, happy Mother's Day. And I think that's the best way to end the episode. Mama, we love you. Happy birthday.
Love you, Mama.
Happy birthday. And patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will see you next time on the MeidasTouch Podcast. Thank you, everybody. We love you, Midas Mighty. Have a good one.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty.
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Mycelis and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Midas Mighty. Let's use our power well.